What's up, CJ here, and today I'm going to bring you my first impressions for the new beta Ravaged. You may be wondering, what exactly is Ravaged? Well, it is a new post-apocalyptic team-based shooter that is currently in development by a small team called Two Dawn Games. Kind of like Battlefield in the sense that it has large maps, but also has a few smaller maps for those who are not totally into the whole vehicular combat. However, they stray away from the usual modern combat type of world, fighting in Afghanistan or something like that. And now we're fighting in cities that we know, but it's after the apocalypse and landmarks have fallen. You'll see the Statue of Liberty on the ground. You'll see the Golden Gate Bridge blown in half. And pretty much the whole basis of these two factions fighting each other are for resources, which is essentially just gasoline so they can keep their machinery running. But enough about this whole story, background stuff. Let's get into the actual gameplay. In this game, players will be able to choose between two factions, the Scavengers or the Resistance. The Scavengers, as the name dictates, they're just people who are going around scavenging whatever they can find, putting it together, and making it useful again. While the Resistance is... I really didn't read the story about them, but they kind of just seem like they're mercenaries trying to just keep these Scavengers suppressed. I don't know, possibly just trying to bring humanity and civilization back to what it used to be before the apocalypse hit. Both factions have 5 very similar classes, however there are small differences in the weapons that the teams have. Such as the Scavengers, you'll see weapons that look like they're mashed together from parts of different weapons to create one new weapon, or they'll be using older weapons, such as a crossbow or a rusty looking Uzi. The Resistance, on the other hand, being a more like paramilitary team, have modern weapons that you'd see in games like nowadays, like your MP5s, M249 machine guns. Now, for the most part, I feel that they keep the two weapon types fairly similar between the classes. However, in the sniper, it felt a bit unfair since the Resistance has a rifle and the Scavengers have a crossbow. But I suppose it's more of an issue that comes with maybe the lack of hit markers or knowing if you actually hit a target or being able to really watch how your bolt travels through the air. Because I have no idea if that crossbow has any type of travel time with it, that you have to lead a target, if there's any drop at all. When I finally used the rifle, though, that felt almost as loose. So it just seems like their sniper class, they really need to give it maybe some text to tell you how the guns react, or just give you more visual indication of how these guns react. Or, maybe I'm a terrible sniper and haven't used it enough to really understand. The other classes, they all felt great, though I usually just go for the Assault since it's a great mid-range and long-range class. Speaking of range, that'd be a great transition to move into the vehicles. I was actually very impressed with their implication of vehicles. They don't feel overpowered such as in Battlefield. I know if you don't have a real good squad with you in Battlefield, you can be dominated by tanks and choppers. But in this, they don't really feel super overpowered. They're really either being used as a mode of transportation, or you'll park them somewhere and use them more like a mobile turret. And I just like the fact that the vehicles aren't immune to your infantry weapons. Like, you don't just need a rocket launcher to blow something up. You could throw grenades at it, you could just start spraying it with your rifle and take it down that way. Or you could just try to take out the driver or the gunner. I suppose it's one of those things I really hate about Battlefield, is that if you come up to an armored vehicle, you're pretty much going to die if you don't have a rocket launcher. The big downside, though, with the vehicles in this game are that they just do not handle that well. Sometimes they'll handle decently, but other times they'll just seem like they start drifting off to the side, or there'll just be too much delay before you hit the turn button, and that just totally throws me off, at least. And I'll just start driving into the walls, and it's bad. It's very bad. But when you do get the vehicles to work for you, they are very fun to drive. I suppose I should also mention a little something about the gyrocopters or helicopters as well. It's another thing where there's a difference between the two factions. The Resistance, they have 2 rocket launchers attached to their helicopter, while the Scavengers have a machine gun and a rocket launcher attached to theirs. I'm not really too sure how I feel about that for balance issues. In a sense, the Resistance have twice as much splash damage weapons, while the Scavenger only has 1 splash damage weapon, and then the machine gun, which is pretty worthless for a pilot such as myself who does not have total control of aircraft. I suppose what I'm saying is the scavenger one takes a lot more skill to be deadly with, while the resistance one is a lot more easy for a noob to get into and just start spraying rockets down the ground where they think people are. The final couple things I want to talk about are the maps and the game types. At first, I admit I was a little bit wary hearing that they had such large maps, but actually when I played the smaller maps, they just felt extremely dull and boring compared to the large scale maps. I don't know, just the large maps were just so impressive looking, real fun to play. I think the best thing they did with them was they just left a lot of structures out, just barren land, and the only structures are the places that you have to strategically capture. I suppose what I'm getting at with this is that there isn't a whole lot of places for a person to camp at. And, well, maybe it is a good thing that the snipers are a little bit loose, because I never really felt that there was just snipers hanging on every little cliffside trying to shoot my dome piece off, but we'll see as the game progresses, though. And as for the game types, currently there are only 2 being offered in the beta, Thrust and Capture the Resources. However, they did mention on their website that they do plan on having at least 8 game types in the final game. The game type Thrust is similar to Conquest, except for the fact that it's really about holding all the bases so the enemy cannot spawn back. Your team wins either by capturing all the spawn points and holding the last one for a total of 1 minute, or by eliminating any of the remaining enemies that are left on the map. I really don't know how I feel about this game type. To me, it really feels like it's just about a spawn trap, and no one really likes being spawn trapped in my mind. So I kind of think this game type needs to be thought out a little bit better. But it can be kind of fun if you're on a good team and you really rush the heck out of the other team and dominate them within a few minutes. The other game type is Capture the Resources. I'm sure you can understand by the name that it's very similar to Capture the Flag. Aside from one little detail, they added in little bases that you can capture, which are actually in strategic positions near the flag or in the middle of the map, or along flag routes. And this is ingenious. I totally love this game type, and I am a person who I absolutely hate Capture the Flag, other than in TFC. That was a ton of fun. But I don't know, this game, it really makes a lot of fun. There's great routes to run back. And just the whole base capture strategy just adds a whole extra element to it. So this concludes my first impressions of the beta for Ravaged. Admittedly, at first, I think that the lack of hand-holding possibly that this game has turned me off a little bit, but once I played for about an hour and actually understood the mechanics and the game types, I started having a ton of fun with this game. I'm interested to see where the beta will go, and hopefully the final game will be even more fun than this. So thanks for listening. I hope you guys have an opportunity to check out the beta for Ravaged, and have a great day. Thanks. Oh yeah, I should probably thank 2Dawn for having the initiative to, I guess, try to create a game like this all on their own. So thanks a lot for taking on that effort, and it's a very interesting development process, how transparent you guys are with everything. So keep up the great work, and I'm looking forward to see more games from you guys.